Hello, and thank you for joining us today at the ABA Civil Rights and Social Justice Program, How Things Work, the Legal Edition, which is a rapid response program that addresses how our civil rights are being impacted through actions being taken by this administration. My name is Michelle Jacobson. I'm a partner at Fragomen and also the chair for the ABA Commission on Immigration, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to this conversation. These videos are a unique opportunity to address what is happening in America today, clarify any misinformation or disinformation that is being spread, and discuss how civil rights and social justice advocates can take action. Today's topic involves reviewing President Trump's most recent actions to detain migrants outside to Guantanamo Bay. As we confront this dramatic shift in policy to detain non-citizens outside of the US, it's essential to examine how these concerns intersect with the principles of justice and equity that guide our work here at the ABA. I'm honored to have with us today Dora Schriro, who has served as an executive level administrator, policymaker, and Homeland Security advisor. Dr. Dora Schriro has led 3 state and 2 city criminal justice agencies in the Federal Office of U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Dora's most recent publications for the ABA are on ICE detention standards, and we're grateful to have her here with us to share her insights. So let's dive in. Dora, please give us an overview of President Trump's most recent plans to transfer migrant detainees outside to Guantanamo Bay.
Hello, and happy to do so. I'm very pleased to be here. I think it might be useful to start with a brief overview of the president's plans to transfer individuals to Guantanamo Bay. Let's start with a short description of what Gitmo, as it's known, actually is. Gitmo is a joint military operation on the island that's shared with Cuba. The Army, Navy, and Coast Guard each has their own assigned responsibilities in the operation of this facility. There is no commercial passage to and from Gitmo, only U.S. military planes, and that, of course, is consequential when we talk about family visitation and certainly access to counsel. The Supermax facility that you see in the news was completed during President Clinton's administration, and it's what we would call in the field a hard facility, and that means it's a hardened facility. It's got a large fence around it, and it operates as would a maximum security prison. Another portion of Gitmo is described as soft by comparison, and it was here that people, families with children, as well as single adults who were intercepted at sea when fleeing Cuba in the 1980s were held. It's in the Supermax facility that was built to hold Al-Qaeda suspects. I didn't even say that right, Al-Qaeda's suspects and staffed by the military, that this administration then shipped 53 Venezuelan men. The 30,000 beds that the president has directed are added in addition to the Gitmo facility are actually cots, 3 across, based on news accounts. The number of rows unclear in tents, and they are being erected right now on the soft side of the island. Now, it's not clear, certainly not to me, what's going to be used for what, for whom, and how long. Right now, you've got those individuals from Venezuela that are there. But, given the punitive bent that this administration has shown, it's possible that the Supermax facility will be continued to be in use after the tent city, if you will, opens. It's also unclear who's going to be sent there. The majority of the people to remove, as described, are most likely to be adult males. The administration describes them as high custody, but more often than not, they're actually low custody, meaning these are individuals who were in legal proceedings or otherwise, if they've had any encounter with the criminal justice system, the things that they may have been engaged in would be considered not serious and would not necessarily result in incarceration. Now, if adult women are also to be held there, the likelihood is that they are going to be accompanied by children, and then that begs another conversation of concern, and that is whether or not that will invite family separation once again.
Sorry. So from what you're saying, these individuals are not the hardened criminals that were being described to us in the media reports?
Absolutely not.
Interesting. And from what I mentioned at the top of the hour, you've written about the ICE detention standards. So you would be an expert in this area to know what should be the ICE detention standards that we should expect at Guantanamo.
Yeah, thank you. So here's something else that ICE, when in its effort to be well intended, have still done the precursor to DHS, as we may recall, is INS, Immigration and Naturalization Services. And it was during that time that in an effort to professionalize detention activities, INS sought the advice of the American Correctional Association, which had promulgated detention standards for correctional systems to assist them in developing standards for civilly held individuals. Now, the way the field operates is with time, as additional information is acquired or case law changes, one would revise the standards, and that means you don't hold on to the old when you adopt the new, but that you let go of the previous set of standards that should be now replaced with the current information and the field's expectations. ICE has never done that, however. Each time that it's made changes to its standards, it's kept the old and then added the new. And so any number of facilities have one set of expectations and others have other sets of expectations. This has always been of great concern to me because whatever the authority is that's holding individuals, whether it's a civil or criminal systems of justice, everyone ought to be protected under the same expectations, the same standards, equal protection under the law. And so ICE, for whatever the reason is that it continues to add additional sets, not revisions of one set, leaves some uncertainty as to which might be in effect there. My best educated guess as to who is suitable, especially on the side that's the soft side, as I described it, would be performance-based standards, the most recent of those, which are pretty progressive. They are consistent with the expectations that the ACA has enumerated for those who are in the criminal justice system, and these are equally beneficial and generous leaning towards the population. The one thing that is of concern to me, though, is whether ICE will elect to utilize detention standards as a baseline from which no provider should fall. And so to have standards as infirm as one might be over another, I think it's really critical that these standards be adopted as they would be in any other facility that ICE operates.
So you've mentioned equal protection as being one of the underlying concerns here. Are non-citizens able to be detained indefinitely out in Guantanamo?
Well, that remains to be seen, and I guess the cause for the excessive detention would have something to do with it. Now, again, with this administration, where the view is, if there's a good outcome, then the end justifies the means. And I think, the administration's definition of a good outcome here is different from many who would be viewing this program. Um, so there should be expectations as to the speed with which removal occurs. You don't want it to be fast, because that means that the administration, based on other things that it said, would have done away with due process altogether, and simply pick people up where they are in their proceedings and remove them. Um, and what we've seen in the last, well, up and down, back and forth, with ICE under previous administrations, depending on how many people are going in and how backed up the civil courts are, the immigration courts, has a lot to do with how long people are staying in the custody of government, either before they receive the relief that they're seeking, or the process that culminates in removal has been completed. So, too fast here is not necessarily going to be a good thing, but that they be held for years and years and years is also a cause for concern.
So at the end of the day, what should the general public be concerned with when we talk about detention out in Guantanamo for non-citizens who are being detained out there?
Um, Well, it's that the people receive all the protections that have been and should continue to be afforded to them under the law. That these are individuals whose conditions of detention should be no more harsh than pretrial individuals in the criminal justice system, and a number of courts have said that they ought to be better. And so, that would really be the baseline, no worse than, and hopefully, maybe not the next couple of years, that they be kinder and gentler, fairer, given the nature of the individual and the claim that they are proceeding.
For sure.
I do have some concerns, not just that there are detention standards, but to what extent that they are modified. This administration has been very vocal in a pretty aggressive and argumentative way about DEI, and characterizing it in the most disparaging ways imaginable. And there are protections in the ICE detention standards, that could be rebuffed on their own, based on the rhetoric and some of the measures that have been taken already. So things that I think are especially vulnerable, either the only to go or the first to go, are accommodations that have been provided in the past for individuals who, based on their gender identity, there have been protections in terms of access to English as a second language. So translation services are provided, both in terms of communication, by calling up lines where translation is provided, or by providing information also in other languages that are most regularly in use. what is the good of giving someone a set of rules if they don't understand that language? So those are some of the things at risk. I think we saw in the first several days of the administration when they put a dead stop to the legal orientation program. And again, that's something else. If they're interested in expediting removals, that this would be something that they would be tempted to go back and revisit again. Having access to counsel, and so being able to meet with counsel when one had one is just another version of the LOP. Similarly, having special certain lines that where legal counsel conversations are deemed continue to be respected as confidential, and that they're not, that they are in fact continue to be confidential. Access to video visitation as an alternative. I mentioned early on that there are only military flights, and so as these, even the tents, which are soft, which is maybe a little bit kinder and gentler, if there's no internet, if there's no opportunity for video conferencing or things of that sort, then any kind of communication is going to be severely disrupted, if not prohibitive. And so keeping the standards intact is really going to be crucial.
Well, thank you, Dora. I think this is very important to understand the policy making that's being decided here in terms of the detention of immigrants, especially as far out as Guantanamo Bay. And thanks to everyone who's joined us today and being part of this important dialogue. It's issues like this that we're exploring that are very complex and challenging. But by coming together in these spaces, we're able to take meaningful steps towards progress. Remember, the work doesn't stop here and continues with actions we take in our communities, our workplaces, and within the ABA. I encourage all of you to stay engaged with the ABA Civil Rights and Social Justice section and become a member if you haven't done so already. Visit our website, explore upcoming events, and consider joining one of the committees to help shape the work we're doing. Thanks again for everyone to keep watching and keep fighting, and together we can make a difference.